Yes, that's right. Police did speak just at the top of the hour and say they believe it is a deliberate act. They did say they don't know what the motivation behind this deliberate act may be. It's too early to say. They also said that they believe that police and other emergency service workers will be on the scene for the foreseeable future. So obviously a fairly dramatic turn of events there in terms of that information, but obviously a long way to go with this investigation. Just a short time we saw investigators walk past us down along Elizabeth Street towards the scene. And behind us now, you can, in the far distance, the police are working away at the scene, but a lot of the sort of preliminary first responders are starting to move away now, but investigators are moving in to the scene to work out what this deliberate act might have been.
And we've heard eyewitness accounts of bystanders apprehending the driver of the vehicle, but police now also confirming that a second person has been arrested. Do we know anything about either of the two people?
Not at this stage, no, we don't. We do know, as you mentioned, that the crowd at the scene was quick to sort of act to detain these people, which obviously stoked those fears of a deliberate incident. But police haven't yet released to me here where we're standing any information about who these people are.
Sadly, Richard, police have revised the number of those injured.
I think it was 14. We've been standing here. The press conference was just around the corner just a short time ago, a very brief press conference. We're promised more information as it comes to hand, and obviously government authorities are being briefed by police as we speak.
Yes, 14 people have been injured. Police have detailed that several of them are in a critical condition. We know that one of them is a child described as a preschooler who has sustained a head injury. Now, in terms of the police presence, we know that it is heavy in the CBD and will remain so for some time yet.
That's right. The police were very quick to get down here and really cordon off a very big area of Melbourne CBD. It's a very busy time, people going home, people in here Christmas shopping, a beautiful night. The police have cordoned off a very large area around Flinders Street Station, which, if anyone knows Melbourne, of course, is the major hub of transport here. But of course, there's victims who are being really the ones that are suffering tonight, and they're of course in hospital, and also all those bystanders that witnessed such a horrific event. And people are being urged to seek counselling, and police are urging anyone that saw anything, anyone who filmed anything, to come and see the police in person, especially at the West Melbourne Police Centre on Spencer Street.
Really important information, isn't it? In terms of the counselling, Richard, police now say that welfare officers will be there at that same police station in person as well to help any bystanders who have been traumatised by this afternoon's events. In fact, we here at the ABC have spoken to several people who do sound as though they remain to be quite upset by just what they've seen.
Well, that's right. I saw people, as I was walking towards the incident, shaking and crying. It's obviously a very traumatic. People aren't prepared for this. It's a very horrific scene that people are witnessing, and it goes back to what happened here 11 months ago. So people are very traumatised, and you can imagine that the fact that the police are treating this as a deliberate act will probably even traumatise some people further.
Now, Richard Willingham there at the scene, thank you very much. I'm just going to update our audience and say that while we did hear from the police a short time ago, updating us as to the latest details which have been confirmed, 14 people have been injured in this afternoon's incident. Several of them are in a critical condition, including that preschooler who has sustained a head injury. Police are telling us that there will be another press conference later this evening. We will intend to bring that to you when it happens, along with any other developments that we learn as soon as we get them. Now, another eyewitness, John, saw the event. Here he is speaking with Melbourne Local Radio, and I must warn you, there is a very graphic description in his account.
Yes, I was on the tram platform in Flinders Street, just at Elizabeth Street. And so I was about to cross Flinders Street to the station. Some other pedestrians had started, but out of the left corner of my eye, I saw a car, SUV, coming at high speed, and really just heard the collision with people and bags and what must be shopping trolleys, and I hope not prams, but it seemed that there were about 10 pedestrians involved. The car was moving at very high speed and collided with the solid concrete tram barrier. And yes, the one pedestrian, I think, one onlooker, I think, climbed rapidly into the driver's door, and I'm not sure what he was doing, but yeah, it was just a horrific scene of bodies were sort of thrown into the air, and there was that colliding noise with lots of things.
What direction was the car coming from, John?
Well, I thought it came down Elizabeth Street, but when I later crossed Elizabeth Street, I noticed that the left-hand lane of Elizabeth Street was blocked with Christmas decorations. So either it came down the wrong side of Elizabeth Street, or it came down the wrong side of Flinders Street, I would have thought, because I didn't see it coming on the correct side of Flinders Street.
You obviously saw a lot of the car as it moved through and it was colliding with people. What was the scene like after it had gone through?
Okay, so many people rushed to render assistance to the people involved, and it was amazing how quickly the police arrived, actually. And it was even more amazing how quickly I guess most people froze, so that sort of made their lives a little bit easier, but they sort of got the situation in order very rapidly. And then my next thought was, well, where are the ambulances? But they came pretty quickly after that. So the whole area is sort of cordoned off now.
Are you okay, John?
I've never seen anything like this before, and I really haven't stopped shaking. And so it's difficult for me to say whether I'm okay. I'm just very affected, obviously.
That was John. Now, Jim Stupas is the owner of Walker's Donuts in Melbourne on the corner of Elizabeth Street and Flinders Street. He was standing outside his store when the incident happened.
He seemed to be travelling at about 80 to 100 k's down Flinders Street in a westerly direction, and the intersection was full of pedestrians, and he just ploughed through the pedestrians. And the only thing that slowed him down was him hitting pedestrians. The first thing that goes through your mind is that it was targeted because there was no braking, there was no slowing down. He went straight through the intersection. So whether it was targeted or whether he'd had a heart attack or was drunk, or I don't know. But, you know, it could have been just a garden variety drunkard that just went through an intersection. But there was no braking or any slowing down at all. He probably hit about 15 to 20 pedestrians. The car stopped because of just, I think, the amount of pedestrians that it had hit, and then he came to rest just next to the tram stop. So maybe the side of the tram stop stopped him. But the only thing that seemed to be slowing him down was just the amount of pedestrians that he hit. All you could hear was just bang, 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 bang. This is the busiest corner in Melbourne. It's this and then the Swanston Street corner, the two busiest corners in Melbourne. It was packed. Our stores were packed. The pedestrians crossing the road was completely packed. It was like solid with people. So we were very, very, very busy in the whole area, and all you could hear was just the sound of the car hitting people and the screams. Literally, within 1 minute, I heard sirens. It was just. Funnily enough, there was some drug-addled gentleman that was next to the store, and I was ringing 000 at the time for him. So, then I hung up on that call, then rang 000, but already ambulances were starting to be in, or police cars were being in attendance. We've got fire services here, police, fire ambulance, heaps of detectives around. So it's been cordoned off completely, the whole area from the Swanston Street block, one block up to Flinders Lane, has all been cordoned off. The whole area has been shut down.
The Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews has now made a statement via his Twitter account. He says, as you will know, there's been a horrible incident on Flinders Street. Police have secured the scene and will provide information as it's confirmed. Please avoid the area. Trains are running, but trams are affected. Stay safe, check on your loved ones, and thank you to our brave emergency services. Kira Gillespie was travelling on a tram on St Kilda Road when the incident happened.
Just before we got to the National Gallery, the tram stopped, not even at a stop, and just said, to get off, because we were sort of sitting there for about 10 minutes. There was people wondering what was going on, and then we were told to get off the tram.
And once you hopped off, were you directed in terms of exiting the city? What were you told?
We actually weren't really told anything. I was sort of letting people know what was happening because I was obviously following it closely on Twitter. So we weren't really, there was nobody there to tell us where to go. We all just sort of went in the same direction as other people, hoping for the best, I think.
And can you tell me what was the mood among your fellow travellers given the events that had already happened this year in the Bourke Street Mall in January?
Yeah, well, I'm at Bourke Street Mall at the moment, and I think there's you hear bits of conversations going past of, people on the phone. Yes, I'm okay. A lot of people on the phone telling loved ones that they're okay, and I think with the helicopters and things like that, there's quite a lot of action happening. I think no one's taking it lightly. Probably how I'd say it.
Were you quickly reassured by the presence of the emergency services?
I think you're assured, but also seeing so much police presence, and ambulances, I think it does sort of, I guess, add to it and make you feel a little bit concerned. And, everyone's saying, is everyone okay? And, I just think there's a lot of concern. But I suppose, having them there has definitely put everyone at ease.
Well, Victoria Police gave a press conference in the last half an hour. They say they believe a driver intentionally ran down pedestrians in Melbourne CBD this afternoon. Let's take a listen to what they had to say.
Police arrived at the scene within minutes and have arrested 2 men. At this stage, we have 14 people injured and several are critical. At this stage, we believe it is a deliberate act. Can I repeat that? At this stage, we believe it is a deliberate act. However, we do not know the motivation and it is still early stages of the investigation. Crime Command have primacy of the investigation and we are requesting people to avoid the area. Can I repeat that? The crime scene will be in place for a considerable period of time and we are urging people who can avoid the area to avoid the area. Police will continue to have a strong presence in the Melbourne CBD tonight. People may have items and vehicles within the crime scene. At this stage, they will not be able to be retrieved until the crime scene is reopened. We understand that this has been a very traumatic event and there will be witnesses, victims and family members affected. Anyone who witnessed the incident is urged to attend the Spencer Street Police Station at 313 Spencer Street, Melbourne, to make a statement. Welfare services are present at that location. We encourage anyone with any other information to contact Crime Stoppers.
Have you been able to get any information from the 2 men at this point?
It's still too early in the investigation to gain any understanding of motivation.
Have they been charged at this stage?
No, they haven't.
Have you ruled out terror as a motivation?
At this stage, it's early days in the investigation and the motivation is unknown.
Well, parts of the Melbourne CBD have been blocked off as cars and pedestrians have been directed away from the area. Chris Miller is from Vic Roads and he joins us now. Thank you for your time this evening. Just can you bring us up to date with the area in the city that has been affected?
Certainly, Kirsten, good evening. We see Flinders Street obviously closed to traffic now. We do have diversions in place at the moment set up at Russell Street on the eastern side, and at Queensbridge Street on the western side. Obviously, Elizabeth Street is also closed. That's blocked between Bourke and Flinders Streets. traffic headed north towards the city up St Kilda Road. At this moment, you stop outside the Arts Centre. The advice would be to use South Bank Boulevard, even better use Toorak Road. And if you are headed towards the city from those Bayside suburbs, you'd be better off on Queens Road up onto Kingsway there. For people trying to get east-west or west-east across the city, we're advising people to use streets north of Collins Street, so that would include Lonsdale, Latrobe Street, also Victoria Street. At this stage, thankfully, it would seem that most motorists have been advised from authorities, and conditions have certainly eased through the Melbourne CBD. Obviously, as the incident unfolded, we had some very heavy traffic. It was at the time, obviously, when people were getting out of work and lots of Christmas shopping going on. But thankfully, it seems that congestion has eased. Things the worst of at the moment would be headed south along Russell and Exhibition Street. Queensbridge Street is also reasonably congested, but I think people should be able to manage okay. And obviously we echo the advice from the police to defer travel, if at all possible, around the Melbourne CBD for this evening.
Of course, the area has been declared a crime scene, but Chris Miller, it's probably too early to say how long these diversions will remain in place.
Well, that's right. And look, and these diversions are set up and controlled by Victoria Police, so we'll obviously be following their advice. But at this stage, obviously, it's closed, and I think it will be for most of the evening, as we've just heard in that press conference. So if people can avoid the CBD for this evening, that's probably the best advice.